ecstasy, rolling hills or city streets, ocean to ocean and all in between. It's out there just waiting on you and me. Take it in, we got no plans. Good things come to those who can. Live moment to moment and all in between. It's out there just waiting on you and me. So look alive, 'cause while I was waiting for you, paradise is on the other side of what we don't know. Taking a long way, you and I were born to roll.
Nothing to lose, I feel it.
there just waiting on you and me. Take it in, we got no plans. Good things come to those who can. Live moment to moment and all in between. It's out there just waiting on you and me. So look alive, 'cause while I was waiting for you, paradise is on the other side of the road. We don't know, taking a long way. You and I were born to roll.
Hello and welcome to the webinar From Guessing to Knowing. My name's Evan Silver. If we have not met, I'm the co-founder of Refine Network, and I get to introduce a good friend of mine who's the other part of the co-founder here in just a second. But we just wanted to welcome you to this webinar. This is something that we're very passionate about. When we started the Refine Network, we wanted to create something to make salon growth simple. So as I introduce Christopher, he takes things that are very complex and makes them very, very simple. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Let's see. There you are, Christopher. Where are you at?
Good morning,
today?
sir. I am in the lovely, newly renovated Appleton Airport. And if you hear jackhammers going on, they are literally building it as we speak. So yeah, little plane right behind me. That might be the one I'm on in a little while. But yeah, happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday. And you and Tony, who we'll bring on in just a second, you guys work with so many salons, and you see a lot of things that we're going to talk about today when working with those salons. We're going to talk about the biggest financial mistakes we see salons working with. Then we're going to go over the haircut health check, which this is the first time I think we've talked about it on
It's the first time first time for Shirley on a webinar. Yeah.
And then we're going to go through pennies for profit, which is something that we use personally inside of our salon. So my wife and I own a salon in Greenville, South Carolina. And I actually have orientation tomorrow with two new employees. And I'm going to walk them through what we're walking through today. And it's incredible because everybody thinks as salon owners, commission salon owners, we take half the money home, and that would be awesome. But that is not the case. So we just got to educate our teams on financial stuff. So really excited about today. I know we have a lot to cover. Christopher, you want to introduce the great Tony Watts?
Yeah, I always want to check in with Tony on this. I describe her as this often, and I hope it lands. And so if not, I'm up for some coaching. But if I was to describe Tony, she is the combination of Mary Poppins and Pepper Potts from the Great Avengers movies. She is just a brilliant, brilliant human. So the another thing I'd like to acknowledge within Tony is we're both Enneagram 3s. And Tony and I get to spend an incredible amount of time together serving salons. And I'll tell you this, just in the same way, there's truly, it's why we call it the Refine Network. There's no cookie cutter approach. It's your business. You've built it. You've done the unique things. And it's our job, to figure out what is the hero's existential problem, and then how do we be the guide in solving it. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do without Tony. So let's bring Tony on here.
Hi,
there we go. Hey, we got the Canva effects in here. I love it. Tony, how you doing today?
Good. It is a sunshiny day, middle of May, and it's a beautiful Monday. I'm excited to kick this off with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of y'all that are on here, we're using this piece of technology. specifically just so that, we can have a really, really high level experience between the data that we're showing you, and then also be able to share this with people in the future. So Tony and I do a lot of things within we're big Zoomers, and though this platform serves us better. So if there is any issue with connectivity or anything of that nature, just bump us a message in the chat. All right, cool. So Tony, when you think about this, we get, I always look at the first few calls when we are onboarding, someone into scale, when we start to kind of see the behind the scenes, right? I kind of think it's like date 3 is where you're like, okay, we've done through the normal stuff. Like, let's actually see what's going on behind the scenes. So from your lens, Tony, with the amount of salons that we've worked with, when you think about like the people that we see that are like guessing, what are the things that you normally see like when we're jumping into someone's financials?
Yeah, and the biggest thing we run into is a disorganized P&L. Like a P&L can make or break your understanding of your numbers and being able to make decisions. And when a lot of these, salons we dive into, and there's kind of things all over the place, or we're catching stuff in 2 areas, and that's throwing off numbers. So really spending the time to get clear on, hey, what do our expenses actually look like, and where are things going, so we can make decisions forward that align with where the business is at.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's so interesting. I was reading, we're reading a book right now as a group, and one of the things that it had me think, I was driving a lot this weekend. If you don't have accurate and up-to-date access, I find that we're commonly in a space of reacting. You get, let's say that you don't get a P&L but quarterly, right? Now you're looking at 90 days, worth of it. So, one of the things I'd say, and we don't even have this as a slide, but this one is just a bonus and a freebie before we even jump in, like having the ability to see that on the monthly, and then deploy some of the things that we're going to talk about today to move you from a space of reacting to responding, right? And being ahead of it. You can be predictive within a lot of these things. Yeah, cool. You ready to jump in on this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So I'm just bringing up the tech on this side of it to be able to go forward. There we go. Beautiful. Awesome. Evan, there you go. Thank you so much, my friend. So, ladies and gentlemen, having great production is always so helpful, because naturally, 4 minutes ago, this was working, and now Canva is in an update. So, Evan, I'm gonna need you to steer a little bit there. All right. So, not knowing their break-even number, Tony, you and I at nauseum, as we've been building scale, we've had a number of conversations around break-even, and there's a lot of talk and chatter on social media about it. So I want to talk about this for a quick moment, because is there only one break-even number?
No, there is not. There's a lot of ways to look at it, and there's your like, hey, what does our business need to operate, open the doors, day-to-day type of thing. And then you want to look at like, hey, what does our business need to actually thrive and function? And then a step beyond that of like, what does our business need to thrive and function, and for you as an owner to be able to thrive and function? So there's really, steps at looking at there. And it's not just this blanket idea of like, oh, hey, I'm hitting my break even, you should be profitable. There's so much more to that.
Yeah. So, for those of y'all and coming to the Leaders Retreat, you'll hear a lot more about this. The process that Tony and I do in Scale, we're moving it over to software just so that we can serve more people. But one of the things that, Tony, when I heard you just say, if I'm to say it in another way, is like, there's what does the organization need, like, on the daily, right? And then when we break that down, though, okay, cool. Then what does the organization need from an hour? And then what does the organization need per employee hour, right? And I think that, having awareness to what and what those numbers mean, and then also though the levers that you have within those numbers, right? How does volume play in? How does productivity play in? How does pricing, your services on a, by the hour, um, or as granular down to like, the 15-minute increment, really understanding, what those needs are. And it really comes down to a break even. One of the things that's so cool for me, Tony, when we get into really breaking down those operational expenses, it's really cool to see like a person's aha, because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the time, like, we understand there's certain parts about our business, like as a commissioned salon owner, there's a bunch of different things about volume. And one of the things that I love that you say, Tony, speak to why sometimes like some owners like, oh my God, we have all this white space. We need new clients. We need new clients, right? We need, like, that's the volume that they first put forward. Why can that be sometimes detrimental if you don't know your break even?
Yeah, like that's, it's easy to jump to that way to fill your schedule and make more revenue. Like that's just the first knee-jerk response of, hey, if we get more clients in and we fill this white space, the business is going to grow. Well, what if you aren't actually profitable on those services? Like if you don't know
Right.
what your break even is and you don't know how much that service actually costs you to provide, you could just end up burying your business more by filling your books if you're not sure that your pricing is where it needs to be. Because that's a lot of times that happens. You might have some services that are super profitable, and you might have other services you're losing money on. But a lot of the times, what we've seen is that those business or those services that you're losing money on are probably one of the ones that you're promoting the most and seeing most often in your
Literally,
salon. Exactly,
literally.
exactly. You have these that you're like, oh, we're chipping away, but you have these that are chipping away even faster. You're not really growing. And I think that's sometimes where some frustration can come from is it's like our books are full, the business is constantly busy, but busy doesn't always mean profitable. And that's really, it all ties back to knowing where your numbers are at and what your expenses actually look like to be able to build from
1,000%.
there.
And that's been one of the coolest things, I think, as we've taken, all of, the salon clients over the years. And I mean, scale began in really running an antigen, I mean, the early versions of it, a decade ago, right? And now having, 4 years of salons between, like, when I had met Evan and Aaron and we first had some conversations. Erin is a she's at a wizardly level, along with us from her stance of just really, really liking granular data. But even now, like, we just went through in their salon on the newest version of Scale, and we found that like some of their lightning services, they weren't where they needed to be at, even with that high caliber. So like that's how much this has changed. In this break even piece of it, Tony, what you just said there, it's so interesting how often we find that services are priced and not knowing the break even, your highest volume services aren't making the money that they need or could, right? And how big of a detriment that is to the organization. It's incredible. So, speaking to that, and like one of the things I think looking at, just to serve all the people here. So let's say that we understand the three discernments of break even. When you think of levers instead of clients, right? Because clients would be the one after. Like, in my opinion, get all of the things figured out, then ramp up marketing, then bring in clients. But what are the other levers that you look at from your lens, Tony, to use
Yeah.
the break even?
The biggest thing is timing, is really making sure that you have an understanding for, hey, this is how much time we want to allot for this service. And if we take longer than that, that's okay. But are we accounting for what that time actually costs the business and a person? So really, to be clear, it's not about setting like, hey, this is what you have to do. And if you get it done in that, it's a problem. It's a problem on the financial side, but making sure you're set up for those moments or opportunities that you do take a little bit longer. So
Yep.
really understanding, hey, this is how much time a service should take, and this is what we've allotted for it on the expense side. And what do we do if it's going to take a little bit longer? Because we all have those clients and have seen those clients that come in that have a buttload of hair and want to accomplish, a look that somebody who doesn't have as much hair in the same amount of time. The reality
Yeah.
is that's going to have a different cost in making sure that's that built in. So that would be one of the main levers is your timing and understanding of what it's going to take to perform each service. Another one is,
Let
go
me
ahead.
let
Yeah.
me jump on that one just to give like a quick because what you said there is so powerful, and I'd like to just go through. So like let's just say for simple math that it's like what we're aiming for in our break even is $100 service per hour, right? And let's say that you take an extra quarter, right? So what should be done in an hour is done in an hour and 15 minutes. So a quarter of 100 is 25. So you would need to charge 125, right? But you're only charging 100 based on, how you have that service set up. And that's the detriment, because then on the next hour, like we're in the negative automatically, that 25. So like on that sharing of that, Tony, I think it's so powerful. And it's one of the things that we do within the Scale workshop, when we're launching Scale, is we like to jump in so the team understands this is what happens when you lose time. This is what happens when you become more efficient with time. Because like on the one side of it, that's an opportunity cost. Like we're not gonna be able to get that back and it's loss, right? When we become more efficient, now you're compounding time, right? So it's really an interesting lever to be able to look at. Jump into what your next one was.
Yeah, the next one is really understanding the amount of product that's going to go for each service. So this is where I get really nerdy. Your COGS and knowing like, hey, this is the product that we are allotting for this service. If we go outside of that, we need to make sure that that's being captured somewhere and that the business is covered and the stylist. So really, again, it's having those guardrails per service of like, this is the amount of product that we're costed for. Because if we don't, how easy is it to go, you're sitting at the shampoo bowl and you're just pumping away at that bottle. And you're just, at the end of the day, you're literally washing dollars down the drain. The same thing when you go to mix, if you don't have a plan and a guide for what you're going to mix for that service, how much of it are you washing down the drain again? So really just having a great understanding of like, this is the service we're performing today. This is the time that I want to spend doing it. And then bringing in that next piece of like, this is the amount of product that I'm going to use for that service. And then depending, the salon, if you have great color management in there, you're now able to capture where do we need to make adjustments. If you have a service that you're constantly seeing an overage on, or you're constantly seeing a ton of waste on, why is that? It's a great opportunity to get curious and figure out like, hey, where do we need to pivot on that? On the other side of it, if you're seeing a service that somebody's constantly having to remix, great, let's adjust the allotments and just make sure that's accounted for in the price. And then everybody's ahead and everybody's set up there.
Yeah, and on that side of it, it's another one of those pieces, y'all. I mean, when we come up with pricing, like when I think of like the highest end, I always go to restaurant with this, right? Because they have all of these variables that they have to take into consideration. And the thing is, like truffle as an example, right? It's such a small thing, but like literally if the chef got heavy handed and was like, I like truffle, I want more of it, right? And they did like 4 turns when they had costed 1 turn, or they didn't cost it at all. Like one of these variables that gets incredibly expensive, like when aluminum foil skyrocketed, right? When we're going through and doing a pricing menu, we don't want to micromanage the team, but I want to understand like, hey, if I'm doing a platinum card and there's 240 foils that I use throughout the head in that application, we should have an idea of what just went into that service. Because then when we're doing that service, if we don't take that into consideration and we already had it underpriced, you just gave it away, right? It's so interesting how many ways that the break even, like using the break even and leveraging it with those levers, how impactful it can be in your organization. And truly the work that we do, Evan had edited my title, and thank you for doing that, Evan, because I'm up to nonsense sometimes. But I'm just such a big believer in the tech stack, and between everything that we do plugs automatically into Vish. and I can't say enough. When you do that level of work, Vish is not a micromanager. It basically is, it's like the Department of Transportation. Why can you go 55 miles an hour on this curve? Because a bunch of nerds studied it. That's why, right? And on that side of it, like, we don't want to micromanage the team. We just want to give them really, really clear boundaries on how we stay profitable and are able to use our break even to be able to leverage. And in my opinion, you cannot do so without Vish.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we jump ahead to number 2?
Yeah, let's jump.
All right, spending without a plan. So this is another one where I get real nerdy and passionate about, is having your budget. Sometimes I know it can feel like restraining or scary, but the thing is the more that you get to know your numbers and understand what's happening in your business, you're able to build a budget around that makes sense, and you're also able to empower your team to gain an understanding of, like, this is why we do what we do. This is why we spend what we do. And these are our goals. If we're trying to get from A to B, from a profitability or a business standpoint, a lot of times it's, looking at a second location, or something as simple as like, hey, we want to upgrade our stations. Great. This is what we need to do to get there. So when you have a plan for spending, you're able to show your team, hey, these are our goals. And it also keeps you in your parameters. What do you have for that, Christopher?
Yeah, I think, one of, and this is something that, like, from Anagen's tenure, like, when you get individuals in your organization that you're able to delegate a specific area within your budget. I mean, our salon coordinator team was top level. I mean, just incredible. Served the guests amazingly well, but we also gave total autonomy within, all purchasing. And I'm not even just saying like retail and color. I mean everything as it went through the salon. And when we gave the budgeting resource that we give our the humans that work with us and refine, when I gave it them, I was like, hey, like I began it, let's say I began it at 8, and I was like, hey, like, let's see what we can do on 7.5, right? And I gave that little bit of a challenge. I was like, actually, you know what, instead of me saying like what it's going to go down to, I want to see what you can do, and I'll incentivize like whatever that spend is. Like, hey, if you can get us into a space from 8 to 6%, as you will see later in pennies for profit, this is one of my things. The ocean is built by raindrops, and every percent within that budget, every percent of your expenses, when you have a plan for them and you've allocated where they can go, now we have control over it, right? And that's, again, to go back to your earlier statement, Tony, like, a P&L tells us that, right? Every single one of those areas we're able to put into a budget, and then we see how can we positively impact and leverage that. And that's where like spending without a plan, that's how you move into, again, it's like reactive to proactive. Spending with a plan is proactive. Spending without a plan is you will get reactive. I can guarantee you that, and we will show you that in an example in a little bit. I don't want to give it away. Tony, also just want to shout out those of y'all. Evan is brilliant on the production side. I want to say it. Tony did something. If for any of you Canva users, this is like next level automation, and I've given all the breadcrumbs that I can. But yeah, I can't say this one enough, Tony. And like, when you empower your team with that, when they have a win like that, now they have an area that they have a high level of competence and they control that budget. So it can be massively, massively powerful for your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump ahead to number 3. Pricing based on emotion instead of data. This is one that I'm sure many of you can feel as well. I mean, we hear it all the time. It's so easy to be like, oh, well, I looked around at these 3 salons around me. That's what they're charging, and I think that we should come in line with them. I get it. The thought is there for sure. But at the end of the day, you don't know what their overhead looks like. And back to point 1, you don't know what their break even looks like, and you don't even know if they're profitable. So why are we just basing our pricing on what we see around us? Christopher, I'd love to talk to you or have you talk about this one a little bit more.
Yeah, so there may be, I think when I looked at the registrant list for this webinar, because there's another one that we're doing coming up. I think she's on here, but I want to be respectful to not name her name so her DMs on Instagram blow up. I've also recently done a podcast where they're talking about this. So one of the things that I loved what she said in the podcast was, like, there's this narrative that you have in your mind that, like, oh, this is all we can afford in the market. We're onboarding someone right now that's in a very, very interesting market. This like, it's this little hole that's like in equidistant between two gigantic cities, and they sit in this little hole and like, hey, guess where your client is going if they think that you're cheap? They're going to the brands that are in the cities. Like, serve them. We have another salon literally like in Wisconsin out of the retreat that we did in the beginning of 23, I believe. Like, again, little town in between two big cities. She raised to compete with both of the cities. Guess what? Her clients are still there, right? And if she had played small, and the reason I bring this up is this is what this individual said on the podcast. It's coming up. I want to say it's either next Monday, maybe. You have to get that out of your narrative. You have to get that out of your mind, right? If you play small and you have a team of people, you are making a decision that impacts every single person. And it's funny because making the decision emotionally causes emotion.
Mm-hmm.
What would I think I can say piss me off. I don't think that's a swear word. Maybe it is. If it is, I'm sorry. What really grinds my gears, that's better, is if I lose team because I played small and I'm a leader of an organization, we can't do that today. We cannot do that today. So I think on, when we make these pricing decisions based on emotion, we're reacting based on feeling and using the data, really using the data to understand, like, everything that we've built on this so far, right? When you're able to look at data and do a deep dive, this is what we do within Scale. It's a 6-month process. The reason that it is, we leave no stone unturned, and it stays your company. It's not this like cookie cutter approach. I mean, every salon, Tony, this is one of the most interesting things. When we come in, it's not that we just like deploy this logic and we're able to like apply it. And it's not this cookie cutter approach, because here's the thing. If you have a business that has tenure, now if you're just starting, interestingly enough, I love you, and you're a different challenge as a client to navigate, because you like, we're making all the decisions out of the gate. But a lot of the time, Tony, like, we're taking sometimes, years to decades with some of the brands that we work with, some of the legacy brands. Like, we're taking decades of emotional decisions, and we're having to deploy we're putting data on top of it, and then we're having to deploy logic to say, how do we take you from where these emotional decisions landed you to where we need to be? One of the saddest things, and Tony, is for me, a salon that has a low overhead and low break even, and like a legacy brand, right? Maybe they bought a building, maybe it's paid for, right? Maybe they have like some of those pieces figured out with tenure, but they haven't kept up to the cost of living, and we can't increase the price enough to be able to reset it so that their level ones can live in the community they serve. That's a hard day, but that's an emotional decision that we have to reconcile, right? When you see that, Tony, in being like specific, what are some of the other like emotional situations that you see? Like, one of them there that I just gave is like, we're looking at like, the cost of living and being like, hey, oh, you don't feel like you can, like, you don't have the value, you don't have the brand to be able to support a $65 haircut, right? You're charging currently $45, and then when you're doing a color service, you're adding it on for 20 because that was a thing that the industry did, right? Like, as an example, like, emotionally, you just gave that away. Is there anything else, Tony, when you think of some of the clients that we've worked with, that you saw emotion play out in a different way?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is like the team aspect of it, is when you don't have a clear understanding of, hey, this is what the business needs to operate at each level. It's really easy to hand out commission increases based off of the emotion of, oh, this person's been with me a really long time. And then you sit down and look at their books and it's like, they're barely here. When they are here, are they enjoyable to be around? Are they, you know, helping the business, the team, anything like that? Like, how are they showing up as a human? And what's their quality of services? But you have them super high up there on your level. And now what? Now that you understand the why behind the level system and the why behind the business and the numbers, how do you navigate that? That gets really tricky. On the other side of it too is to the guest is I think it's really easy to get that emotional connection to your guests. And how do you have that conversation? But I think one of the great pieces to that on the other side is as we've gone through scale, there's so much knowledge gained in understanding that it's a lot easier to have that conversation with the guest. And you know, to your point, Christopher, I think you've talked on this is if you say to your guest of, you know, hey, our prices are going up. We believe that we should be able to live in the community that we serve. We've taken all these pieces into account and really explain it to them, and they're still upset about it. I mean, that's going to say more about them than it does you. So the emotions still come into play with it. And there's between the team and the guest of figuring out like, hey, how do we still like emotion's still going to be at play? Like we're humans and we care about our team and we care about our guests in the business. But now we're able to, I think, drive those emotions or guard those emotions in certain ways because we have the knowledge and understanding and the confidence behind those conversations moving forward.
Yeah, you know, in one, Tony, you're so right. And one point maybe that I'd like to add in finishing out on this one, there's a number of things that the industry did. You know, when you think about the haircut, we're going to get into the haircut health check in a little bit, but like one of the things that we'll see is, you know, what a person would do for an hour-long service. And then just because, you know, you might be, you know, if you're a salon that charges, you know, gender-based, what I mean by that is like you have a women's haircut, you have a men's haircut, then you have a kid's haircut, right? Like we look at that and like the time value of money, we're like, you know, there might be this narrative like, oh, all the guys in our area are cheap, like we don't turn them off, right? Like the impact of that is, again, you're giving your time away. If our value for one client for the amount of time is this, and we're playing small in that area, or like a kid's haircut, I'm like, okay, you give it less time and less money, but it's way more complicated and way like it's inconsistent, right? Like you don't have someone's like, you know, when you're able to say to someone, if you're doing a precision haircut, you're like, hey, move your head here and hold it, right? Like some adults can't even do that, right? And now all of a sudden we took a service that we underpriced at 45 minutes. It took an hour. Everyone's stressed and you're running late. Like, come on. These are ways that they'll show up. Another one though, and this is classic. Two sides to this. I'm not going to say any names. I want to be respectful to the competition that we have in the coaching space. There's a couple narratives I want to talk on briefly. First one is, there's an individual, actually, if you were at ABS, you may have saw this. She likes to fly around on horses or something like that. But there's a statement that she had made that if you have more than 3 levels of pricing, that you're struggling with ego. If you only have 3 levels of pricing, have you gone and tried to buy a car recently? The reason that they have the car and they show it at the least, like it's the loaded one, but it starts at, there's no features in it, right? And the way that I look at this, like if you don't have a level system, and we're working with salons right now that are coming from no level system, right? Everyone, no matter what tenure, 20 to 30 years in the business to 1 year in the business is charging the same amount of price, right? This is another space, like emotionally, you're like, well, oh, we can't increase. We can't do that. Yes, you can, right? And so one, not having a level system, this is like a flashing red wake up call. If you do have a level system, but it's limited, you basically are letting people know that they can tap out income wise in your industry, right? And it's these emotional things, like the market will validate the value that you deliver in your service. Mm-hmm. In believing so and underpricing yourself emotionally, you just don't realize. I mean, there's individuals that are likely leaving your organization, and the stress that a person can have running a salon that is priced emotionally. Again, emotion makes emotion. So I could probably talk on that one for like the next half hour, but let's jump a slide forward here, Evan. So, just to go through, and I think, really at this point, talking on one, there's a number of break evens that we need to be aware to. Secondly, budgeting, right? And on that break even, the break even is built by the P&L. The P&L, we're able to really, really get in and leverage it when we look at budgeting and having a plan on what we spend. And that last piece to it, is kind of what we had talked to. The ultimate thing that you want to have rock solid as a foundation with the first one being known, that break even is going to tell you what the organization needs. And like Tony said, when you want to build your organization and when you want to scale it, when you want to be profitable, we build that in so that not only your current break even, but what you need to generate to be able to hit those goals. And I think that on that side of it, I mean, that in a 30-second, elevator pitch is why scale is the powerful thing that it is. Okay, speaking of that, let's jump in. Evan had kind of said this the first time that we're going through the haircut health check. So for those of you that are, on the webinar right now, when you scroll down just slightly, this is a new tool that we built. And the haircut health check, basically, now we've talked about break even and things of that nature. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is, as a commissioned salon, right? Your employees are paid a commission on the per hour service that they're doing, right? And when we are able to break down and do the math on it to be able to say to someone, hey, at this service per hour, at your commission amount, this is what you generate for your income. Now, in our industry, we have these other two beautiful things, which are tips and retail. I'm going to leave those be to the side because we can see what the impact is when you fill in the data for the report. But what we basically have you do here is we're using and getting financial data of what it costs to live in the community you serve. So as you're going through this, when we have you enter, it's going to be your salon name and your zip code. The reason you're like, are y'all going to mail us stuff? Well, we might, but it's not going to be spammy or anything that's going to be in that way. The main thing, and yeah, Evan, absolutely, if you want to bring that up on screen, that'd be awesome. The main thing that what we're doing there is we need to utilize that zip code to be able to understand that, where is your business based? Because here's the part, all y'all understand this, like the moment that you travel, you go to Chicago, you go to New York, you go to LA, you go to Austin, right? You go to Miami. What you will pay for, call it a drink, call it a meal. You go to one of those cities and it got cranked up, right? That's a cost of living index. All of those things are going to be impacted. So what you'll see here is we're using that zip code to give us the data that we need to see. Now, on the first part of it, as Evan is kind of showing you, now this is the biggest thing. Prior, like I would say 2 years ago in scale, the first thing that we were trying to get people up to was just surviving. Now, Evan, just so that we can see this here real quick. So the toggle right now that we have is 34.2 for surviving. Click thriving for me. Beautiful. All right. So that's a massive, massive disparity. So $14,000, right? Knowing now for those of you that are on the call, if you have a legacy brand, if you are a pillar within your community, and I always said within it, like in Anagen's tenure, I didn't really care to be number one, but I wanted to be in the conversation, right? So if you're one of those organizations that's either in that conversation or you're striving to be there, the way that you build great team, it's not just building incomes so that people can survive, it's building income so that people can thrive. Now, the next point that I'll go to, and to be very, very clear, like we're not proponents that like, hey, like our perspective is that you have to have kids, right? But if you look into your organization, it's a thing that naturally happens within someone's lifestyle. So no kids, all kids, fur babies, no babies, whatever situation that you land in, we want to be able to understand when someone comes into this career, right? How do we be able to build a system, a level system, that they're able to get through those financial checkpoints and those financial goals? I think it's massively interesting, right? So at like single, no kids, it's a $14,000 disparity. When we move one over to single adult and one child, it's a $26,000 disparity. When we go to 2 adults working and 1 kid, it's a $34,000 disparity. And these are the things that, like, the data, as we said, when we price based on emotion, imagine the money that we're leaving on the table. Now, what I think is really, really interesting here, for those of you that have large organizations, this gets interesting. So the way that we have it set up is we'll have you put in the amount of providers that you're at, and knowing the average level system that we do see, I know who built them. Back in the day, they did a good job by bringing it in, but they also brought in like a $2 increase, right? Like, oh, my haircut went up $2. You're like, do you understand that, like, year by year on inflation, that you actually just lost money, right? But you're still having the I'm charging more conversation? That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So when we move through the bottom part of this, we're looking at the number of service providers that you have on the team, what you currently charge for a 1-hour haircut, right? What the bottom level service commission is going to be. We bring into retail. Now, here's the thing. The whole industry, here's a wake-up call. We're in a $6.5 billion a year industry, yet in the salon, 40% of our clients aren't retailed to, right? 70% of our clients wish that they had more of a conversation. So we'll give you a little bit of retail credit here just for conversation purposes. We then have you put in what is your retail commission, wind it up so that you can see it, right? If you're on a tiered scale, put 20 in, right? I'd rather build a situation so that we can see, like, even when someone is really crushing it, how far is our service off? On the tip piece of it, you're able to put that in either as a percent of or a dollar amount. My encouragement would be to use percentage. If you're using good tech, you should be able to figure that out. But industry standard, if you're competent at what you do, is 20%. In Anderson's tenure, we even saw people, the moment that we put on a button that allowed you to tip 30%, magically the people that were crushing it unreasonably, wink for unreasonable hospitality, those individuals were seeing 30%. Now, in the hours and schedule, what we're going over there is 30 hours. If you're like, man, these guys, this team at Refine, they don't even know how many weeks are in a year. There's a reason that we have it at 50, right? If you're an organization, you give off for a couple holidays a year, and then you might maybe practice some of the banking holidays, which is kind of a fun thing. That's where we're going to say 50. So, like, if you don't close at all, throw 52 in there. We have it set at 50 because we do encourage, like, we do think that people should get time off. Now, lastly, utilization, biggest point. Tony, I might have you add on to this. One of the things that we do, if we wind a business up to 100%, the number surely looks bigger, right? But is it realistic, right? Tony, when we go to utilization, why do you think it's important that we don't wind things up to 100%?
I mean, at the end of the day, is you want to be you want to be busy and you want to fill your books, but the reality is expecting your team and your business to run at 100% all of the time is exhausting for everybody. So why not just build in a breather from the get-go to set up your business? Because we're all humans here. 100% isn't reality.
I like to think about it, the same way. If you've ever gone into, this is really interesting, actually. If you've ever gone into a restaurant, like, let's say that it's a high caliber, and really, really, like, high level culinary experience, there's an intentionality of, like, space, right? Like, imagine, so, like, what Tony is saying, like, let's say that you're like, hey, in this given space, like, I can fit 50 chairs, right? But what would the experience be better at 40, right? So, like, when we wind that back, we make it more realistic. Now, are there individuals in your organization that you're like, oh my God, XYZ, they're scheduled, they're efficient, they are packed 100% of the time? Yes. If you plan for 85, that ends up being, that's a compounding piece to it, right? So want to be really, really clear there. But yeah, this tool, y'all, when you go through to get the results, the thing, if you're, I'll tell you the two important pieces of data, and it's kind of like an Oreo. The top level of it is going to show what is it off. The very, very bottom, it's going to show you what is the impact to, the organization. Yeah, and Evan, we can jump back over. So on the health check there, that is some really, really powerful data. And here's the thing, y'all. No organization. I've had one in all time, right? The haircut was right, but then the moment that I jumped into color was off. So the majority of the time, if the haircut's off, if the service pro was wrong there, and then we put a bunch of, cogs at our color services, our chemical services, guess what also is off? So I love that. Tony, proudly, as we jump back in, I again want to acknowledge the level of Canva that you have brought in here. Let's jump into pennies for profit. I'll say this real quick, y'all. This is something that we've built into the scale workshops. It is massively powerful to use this with your team. Getting to see, so like, let's say one of the things that I do, let's say that like phone and internet is like, 0.68, right? So not even a full percent on your P&L, but we give it a penny, right? When I say, I'm like, hey, you know what? Gosh, it got a little bit more expensive. We'll give it a penny. What happens at the end of the day, you're about to see, and when the team understands that, like, oh, like I'm paid a top 50% commission, so you're getting the other 50, it really resets that narrative. So Tony, let's jump in here. I'm really excited to show everyone your high level of Canva-ness.
Thanks. When there's some things that bring me joy, and this was one of those. But to your point, Christopher, is like this exercise is one you can take back to your team. And it is a great way to help them understand of like, hey, what does it all take to run a salon? What does it all take to make the business operate? Because to Christopher's point, a lot of times the narrative is like, oh, well, you keep the other 50% and you just go live your best life with it. Well, the reality is there's so much more to that. And this makes it very visual and very easy for them to understand. So the first one we're looking at here is looking at your P&L. 56 pennies we just lost for payroll. Christopher, let's talk about that.
So this is an interesting one, and what we want to look at here is on that side of it, like it's both what we have going to artists. So like if you're an organization, like we had one come in right now and they're super payroll heavy. Guess what? Come to find out, they have over 50% going on the commission side of it, and then they have support on top of it. So this is one that we really want to look at. So like what payroll is all going to encompass, and what it can encompass is, who's in your company that's training, who's revenue producing, lead team, support team, ownership, right? So when we look at that, it's a big number, but when we're able to have good data to break that down, understand like, okay, cool, what percent of it, like having a commission, system that's starting out at 40 to 42, percent, why is that healthy? Right? Marketing dollars go to that, client retention goes to that, client building goes to that, right? So we want to have a high level of understanding there. So the largest is, and it's a great point to be able to tell a team, like right away out of the gate, the most amount of it goes back to the team. Beautiful situation.
Yeah. And then jumping ahead to the next one, payroll taxes. So because you're employed by us, we take care of a good chunk of your taxes. Helping them understand that as a 1099 or an independent stylist, you have to plan for those taxes as well. But because you're employed by us, we take care of a good chunk of that. Anything to add to that, Christopher?
Well, this is one, yeah. I mean, when we think about like commission versus booth rent, right? Like this one is so key to be able to explain, like the business, like you have a contribution, you have a personal one, yes, but the business also has something that it's paying for on that W-2 side of it. And the thing is, and this is the guarantee, and one of those things, like we go over this within the commission versus booth rent, like you don't understand the benefit that you have when you're not paying self-employment tax. It's not fun. So 9% goes happily to the government.
Yes. The next 2%, vacation benefits. So a great point again is because you're employed with us, we provide an opportunity for vacation and take time off. 2% of our overall budget goes towards that altogether. Marketing, 4% of marketing. 4% of our budget goes towards marketing. Again, because we provide all of your marketing opportunities. You don't have to go out and find those. We work with different agencies, paid ads, things like that, that you would typically have to do on your own to help the clientele in the business, that sometimes you might take with you. But we still help support grow that. And I think that's a big key. And the reason I say that is I think sometimes that's a piece that it's easy to get caught up in, which is fair, is like we help you build a whole clientele in a business and you just leave with it. But at the end of the day, like you're helping grow somebody. And if they do, they do. But if your business is built up along the way, they should be sticking with you. And this is a piece to that, is helping them understand of, hey, this is what it all takes to grow in a business, and this is how we're here to support you as a stylist to grow.
Yeah, I love that one, Tony. And I think really, like, you know, letting them know that, like, it's not only the cost of marketing, but it's the effort to have the content to market, right? Like all those pieces, right? Within your tech stack, like the software that you're using, everything that helps do that, like that's paving and playing the way to our marketing. Let's jump to the next one.
Yeah. Insurance, 1%. So because we're here and you're, you know, a part of our salon, we have insurance. If you really bog up somebody's hair, they're not coming after you. They're going to come after us. But hey, you're protected and we've got that taken care of. So no worries on that side of it.
Yep.
Supplies. So this is your day-to-day supplies: printer paper, pens, marketing, just like things, your everyday stuff around the salon. We supply all of that for you, and that's 5% of our budget. Next one, education. So we set aside 1% of our revenues for education. It's important for us to be able to provide opportunities for you to grow and learn in areas that you're excited about. And, you know, as an employee here, we want to be able to set you up for success and provide that for you. It's nothing that you have to worry about additional on your side. The next other big one is overhead. So 15% towards overhead. You know, you have a beautiful building that you're in, you have all of your supplies, your expenses, we make sure the lights are on. Every little piece that comes into that is that when your guest is here, they have functional Wi-Fi. That's a huge piece of it, is, you know,
Kind of nice. Kind of nice.
Yeah. Making sure that the experience that your guests have while they're here is really great to align with how great of a stylist and how talented you are. Anything to add to that one, Christopher?
You know, I think that this is one of those that, like, it is, there can be so many pieces that will be incorporated for ease of showing. We have that together. We also do coach, though, that we really have that as granular as what it can get. So in that example to it, this is where, you know, and every organization is different, y'all. So like, as we've been going through this, you're like, I don't have vacation benefits. That's okay, right? Is it something that you want to have? Because we can build that in, right?
Exactly. So jumping ahead there, for 6% for back bar. So you have everything you should need to be able to provide an excellent service to your guest. There's nothing that you should have to go get on your site. And it's all here for you, ready to use for every guest that comes in. And then the last one. So we get here. There we go. We get here and we have this last 5% for retail. Well, what do we do, Christopher? There's only one penny left.
Yeah, you know, this is where I love this part in the workshop, when I'm able to do this, because I'm like, they're like, oh, what happens now? And we're like, oh, there's urgency, huh? And they're like, well, yeah, like we're not going to have anything on the shelves. Like, well, I guess if we're spending without a plan, this might be where we get to. Like, what would be reasonable? How are we going to solve this? And they're like, well, they could put it on a credit card. It's like, sure, but we haven't accounted for interest yet, right? In really getting them to understand, like, holy crap, this is all that goes into it, and this is why, like, ocean is built by raindrops. So like, the more calculated we are, like, hey, guess what? We're bringing in Vish because our color is completely out of control and not tracked. We're spending money to hopefully have a productive win on that, so that we can take our supply budget. Like, we might put 1% towards tech, but we might get 4% back, right? So in every one of those conversations now we're able to say, hey, do we want to pay people less in this organization? They're like, no. Okay, cool. Do we want to get rid of vacation benefits? No. Okay, cool. Right now we're putting 4% towards marketing. What would it look like if we said as a group that all of us were going to put out a piece of collaborated content once a week, and we can maybe take that marketing budget down to 2, right? Okay, cool. Right? Oh, and that overhead one, gosh, you know what? Like, in Anagen's tenure, we gave you a glass of wine at the end of every night. I didn't like monitor the pour. Like, hey, like if we're having like 5 or 6 a night, like first out, health reasons, right? But like on the other side of it, can we leverage that? Can we have like a little bit of an agreed standard here? And now we get to start having some fun conversations to be able to navigate your company. I love this one. So now, yes, let's throw that last penny in there. So, you know, for all the math people on it, the way that we want to set this up, and like we don't even have like profits not built into this, right? That's another thing that we're able to do. And even on top of that, one of my favorite pieces that we have in scale is our dream budget, right? So what are the ambitions that you have? If you don't have vacation benefits yet, how do we figure out what 2% of what you need to be doing is? Very easily. So these are all the things that within scale we're able to leverage. I love this visual though. And I, like I said, if you have something on your P&L that's less than a penny, or you know, in the middle of a percentage, just, you know, it's a narrative that we can say, gosh, you know what, our phone in that, it's like 0.68, but guess what? It just got more expensive tomorrow. Could happen, right? Oh, we're going in, you know what? This is like based on summer, but like in the winter, our utilities are incredible because it's so cold up here in Wisconsin, right? Oh gosh, let's wind it up to 5% if it was 4. So I love this one. Evan, do you want to jump back in with us here real quick? And let's talk about how and what we do with all these things
Yeah,
at the Salon Leaders Retreat.
Yeah, the one I love being behind the scenes. Y'all know that's a passion of mine. So just sitting here watching you guys, I was like, man, this is awesome. And it's something that's very, very valuable. And we do have a leaders retreat. We have one coming up June 6th through the 8th. We have one October 3rd through the 5th. I know I said the right dates. I've been practicing. And
it shows.
I will say it's one of the best things we do. It's very, to give you kind of a 30,000 foot view of what the retreat is. The first thing I would say, it's informative, it's relatable. We as salon owners and leaders in the salon, we have a lot going on. So we want to create a space where you can come, be comfortable, relax, connect with other salon leaders as well. And we talk about leadership, we talk about culture, we talk about pricing. We do the pennies for profit at the leaders retreat. And one thing that I highly recommend is just keep a roll of pennies in your office. I've got some in these cabinets back here, and tomorrow I will give them 100 pennies each for the employees that are joining our team. And we're like, all right, I'm going to walk you through this. So we do the pennies for profit. My wife does a session on how, if you want to step away from behind the chair, come to that session. And the great thing is my wife was very intentional of how she stepped away, and she made mistakes, and she'll tell you what to do and what not to do. We go over culture. We go over the Enneagram. Christopher does an amazing session on the Enneagram. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, it's 30. Yeah, we don't have time for it. It's a personality test for you to understand your team. First, understand yourself, but then understand your team. And it's a tool that you put in the tool belt of leadership to help lead your team. Here's the thing. It's $499. And the reason it's at $499 is we have some really great sponsors with Forrest and Vish, and they were like, hey, we want to get involved. Where can we help? And we're like, we need to lower the ticket price. If you came to the first 2 or 3, these were $1,500 tickets. Now they're $499. You can't even come to Greenville, South Carolina and eat for the weekend for $409. You can't even drive here for $409. I mean, it's right. So this is a very, very powerful weekend. It starts at Saturday at 6 p.m. We do a cocktail networking event, and then Sunday we do all day teaching up till 4. And you guys know that are on the call that I'm very strict on ending it at 4. And then we at 6 p.m. we go do an event, and it's very relaxed. We go outside because it's going to be beautiful here. And yeah, Monday we do sessions. We'll end at 2 p.m. So it's, if you were looking for something, if you feel like, hey, I'm getting a little burned out or I'm stuck in my business, this is the next step right here. I promise you, It'll be well worth your time. You'll get resources and tools to take back to your business so you can help grow your business, and you'll be filled up as well, because it's, what's the saying, it's hard to pour from an empty cup. If you need your cup filled, this is the next step right here. So, hey,
Speaking
Tony.
of,
Yeah, dude. That water.
it's about time to go get a refill of my water.
Tony, Christopher, you guys crushed it. And those of you that are viewing and joining, it's been a pleasure. This is something that we're passionate about. We don't do this because we can't find anything else to do. We do it because we're passionate about it, and we put our heart and soul into it. So we would love for you to come join us at the Leaders Retreat. If you want, you can scan that QR code, or you can just email hello@theREFINEnetwork.com if you want more information, or you can go to our website, theREFINEnetwork.com, and contact us. It's us three that are, if you email us, text us, DM us, it'll be one of us three messaging you back. So great job, guys. Killed it.
Cool. Thanks,
All right.
y'all. Hope
Y'all
to
have
see
a
you
great
soon.
day.